everyone, this is John Daly. I'm here again with Bernie Goldberg for another episode of the No BS Zone. How's it going today, Bernie?
Okay, how are you, John?
Doing good, doing good. Bernie and I have had a rough couple of days we were just talking about, but I won't get into that. But today we are going to talk about the presidential race. Since the last time we talked, Nikki Haley has suspended her campaign. So I think we can officially say that Donald Trump and Joe Biden are now the presumptive nominees. Bernie, I know you're very excited about this rematch. What do you think? What do you think we can look forward to over the next 8 months?
I think what we have to look forward to, John, is relentless, nasty, ugly campaigning. What we have to look forward to is both candidates essentially saying, if you think I'm bad, the other guy is worse. What we have to look forward to, as I wrote in my column this week, is one candidate who tried to overthrow the 2020 election and another candidate who millions and millions of Americans think is not mentally fit to be president. Well, one last thing we have to look forward to is whether Donald Trump can find it in himself to do and say the right things to win over the kinds of voters he's going to need to win the election: independents, moderates, Nikki Haley voters. Whether he can do that or not is an open question. And on the other side, Joe Biden has to rebuild the historic Democratic coalition that is crumbling before his very eyes. Progressive voters, younger voters, Black voters, Hispanic voters, the polls indicate they're all abandoning him to some degree. But essentially what we have to look forward to is a very nasty campaign between today and November 5th.
Yeah, I expect the next 8 months to be pretty stupid. I think case in point, there's got to be a lot of just craziness. But case in point, Joe Biden this week basically apologized for referring to an illegal immigrant as an illegal immigrant. Donald Trump vowed as one of his first acts as president to free the January 6th prisoners, which of course includes hundreds of violent criminals who, among other things, assaulted police officers that day. So, yeah, that's something very exciting. You mentioned the issues that Trump may have courting over, and I know we talked about this a little bit before, but Nikki Haley voters. Joe Biden actually kind of reached out to those voters saying, "Hey, we'll take you on our side." Trump so far doesn't seem to be particularly interested in unifying the party. That might change, but he's still calling Nikki Haley names. He's even calling Ron DeSantis names still, which is kind of strange because he got quite a few votes during the primary too. What do you make of that?
Here's what I make of that, John. Based on the polls, Donald Trump should win the election this year. But there's one giant obstacle standing in the way of an easy victory, and that obstacle is Donald Trump himself. I don't know if he could bring himself, I don't know if he has it in his character to do and say the right things, the kind of things that would help him win. Yeah, he has to get a percentage of those Nikki Haley voters. And what's he doing? What's he doing to try to unify the party, to try to bring it together? The best I could figure, absolutely nothing. He is his own worst enemy. And the picture you painted a minute ago of what we have, what kind of candidates we have going forward. This is a country of over 300 million people. How do we wind up with two people most Americans don't want to be president? This is a serious question. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into how this all came about, but looking at what we have, this is a very bad situation. One guy tried to steal the election, and that wasn't Joe Biden, that was Donald Trump. And the other guy, who arguably, at least millions of Americans believe, isn't fit to be president, isn't fit to serve 4 more years. You had a great phrase. Remind me of what it was. One person isn't fit for this reason, the other person isn't fit for another reason. What was that phrase?
Oh, I think it was mentally impaired versus mentally deranged.
Yeah, okay, there you go. In a great country like the United States, we wind up with mentally impaired and mentally deranged. Something is very, very wrong with what's going on in this country right now. It's a very serious situation we're facing between now and election day.
Yeah, I think one part of that, and we can get in depth into that another time, but I think it's just the parties are just so weak right now that these two could be their leaders, and there's not there's a many deeper things, but I think the current situation that's going to really kind of prevent uh, these candidates from having, I think, serious policy arguments. I'm not even sure they're going to debate. You know, Trump right now, he really wants to debate after having denied his primary opponents of that opportunity. And I'm guessing Biden and his handlers aren't terribly interested in that for reasons we understand. He's not as sharp as he was before. I assume that we'll see a lot of
Let me weigh in on that, John, about the
yeah.
debate. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Trump wants a debate, Biden not so sure, because I have a different take on it. I think a debate would help Biden as long as he doesn't totally screw it up. It would help Biden because Donald Trump can't help himself. If he's unnecessarily nasty, if he's calling Biden names, if he's pretending that Biden is stuttering, as he did in a recent, as Trump did in a recent speech in Georgia, and mocking Joe Biden, the moderate swing voters in battleground states are going to look at that, and they're going to, as troubled as Joe Biden is, I can see them going over to Joe Biden over Donald Trump because people don't like nastiness. Trump's most loyal supporters have no problem with his nastiness. I think they really like it. They think, well, he's a fighter and all that. But moderate, normal, let me rephrase that, moderate, average voters, uh, people who aren't political junkies, if Trump goes into that debate, if there is one, and is unnecessarily mean-spirited, I think that would help Joe Biden, actually. What do you
I
think?
think I think it helped him out. People will remember this actually happened 4 years ago, back when Biden and Trump were debating. Chris Wallace was the moderator. I think that was the one where Trump actually had COVID, but it wasn't known at that time. But you know, it was interesting. That debate started out, I thought, pretty good. I thought actually Trump was handling himself pretty well. Biden was handling himself, but about I think it was like 10 minutes into it, Biden or Trump just turned very nasty. He just got in there, was interrupting everything, shouting over Biden, and it just, I think that did not help Trump. I think that did
Exactly.
Biden a lot of good, actually. People may remember that.
Exactly. And I don't think, look, I'm not a doctor, obviously. I'm not pretending to be one, but I don't think Donald Trump can help himself. I just think he's he's mean spirited, and he goes after anybody he perceives to be an enemy, not an opponent, an enemy. And I don't think I think that's what's standing in the way of a Trump victory, frankly, Donald Trump himself.
I remember after that debate, it was actually quite a bit longer after that debate. I remember some of the Trump camp were trying to blame Chris Christie because he had prepped Trump. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that wasn't Chris Christie's idea. That was pretty clearly an off strategy thing that Trump had changed it. But I thought it was funny that they tried to lay blame on him.
You mean Chris Wallace or Chris Christie?
No, I think Chris Christie actually worked with Trump back in 2020 to
Oh,
help him
yeah, yeah,
prepare for
yeah.
the debate. And I remember, like much later, people were trying to sort of blame Christie for being the reason that Trump performed so badly. And I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure that that wasn't the strategy that Christie was.
Well, here's one final point before we move on. Donald Trump will never take blame for anything. And you know who else won't? Joe Biden. These guys never say, I was wrong. Sorry that's a word you never hear from these people. It's people make mistakes all the time, but they won't acknowledge mistakes. Trump won't, Biden won't. I am, not that anybody cares about my personal feelings, but since this is the no BS zone, I'll tell you, I am really tired of all of this crap. Really tired of it. I mean, I'm about to punch out. I'm about to just say, I'm turning off the TV. I'm not reading the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. Well, the Wall Street Journal I can't do without. The Washington Post. I just can't take it anymore. I think the media has chosen sides, and the cable is the worst, and the politicians are the worst. I am on the verge of saying, Adi freaking os, everybody. I'm gone. I can't take. I'm not kidding. I am this close to finding something else to do with my time than dealing with the political situation as it is. You could laugh
No,
all you want. I'm serious about
no,
this.
I get it. I get it. It is very frustrating. It's hard to have patience for grown adults acting like kids all the time. It just where all these issues, there's lots of important issues facing the country, and it just all turns into these stupid, you know, narratives, culture war things, YouTube fights, all these other things. And yeah, I trust me, I get you. But let's go ahead and pivot. One other thing that happened since last time we talked, Bernie, was the President Biden's State of the Union address. By all accounts, it was a pretty partisan speech, which is not good in my view. That's not what it's supposed to be. But I don't think Biden had any major flubs, at least anything that the average voter would feel as a major flub. Bernie, do you think any minds were changed as a result of the State of the Union address?
I think some might have changed because of what you just said, actually. I mean, he made it through. He made it all the way through without any major flubs. Uh, CNN did a poll afterwards, and they found 65% of those who watched had a favorable reaction. But most people who watch State of the Union addresses watch it because their person is in the White House. In other words, more Democrats watched this time because a Democrat is in the White House. And the 65% is the lowest number in 25 years of CNN polling on the matter. So even though 65% had a favorable rating, that's not all that good. But my basic takeaway is somebody needs to tell Joe Biden that yelling doesn't make you younger. It doesn't make you mentally sharper. It just makes you louder. And I don't know that he can keep this yelling up, although he might try all the way to November 5th. Because if he's yelling the whole time, I'm going to Acapulco, man. I mean, I'm out of here. I am out of here.
I think that's definitely overcompensation because people have been, portrayed. Well, Trump has called him Sleepy Joe. That's his nickname. We've seen the videos where he's sort of drifting off, gets sort of lost in thought. Sometimes looks like he's fallen asleep. And I think this was very much an overcompensation. Someone, I think as people were saying, you got to get out there and show me you got energy, you got stamina. Yeah, he just went way in the overboard in the other direction, and I think that's really what this was about.
The question is, though, can anybody keep that up for how many months it is between now and November? Because there are going to be times when he's asked a question at an airport, or if he has, forgive my language, if he has a news conference, I say forgive my language because those are news conferences a bad term as far as the Biden administration is concerned. But there are going to be times when he can't yell. It's going to look like a fool if he's yelling. And if he looks soft and weak and frail in those other times, people are going to realize the yelling is an act. Unless he's yelling nonstop between now and November, it's going to, you can't, first of all, you can't yell all the time. And when you don't yell, the contrast is going to be so great that people are going to say, what the hell is going on here? You know, he's whispering, he's not articulate, he's not forceful, and then the next day he's yelling at a rally. You know, it just looks phony, and it is phony actually.
Yeah, I think that they may have to, his team may have to manage the energy drinks quite carefully and not, yeah, it's tough because yeah, he's got this one persona, and I think he's going to the far end of the spectrum. And you're right, I don't think it's his real self. Oddly enough, you mentioned that sort of the authenticity part of Joe Biden. I think, and I didn't watch the full, and I'm guessing you're probably the same. I didn't watch the full State of the Union. I don't have that much time to sit there. So I watched a lot of video clips from it. I gotta say that my favorite part of that whole thing was before, I think it was before it even started, where Biden ran into Marjorie Taylor Greene on his way up. And for some reason, I really liked that because, I mean, he had that funny look on his face when he saw that she was sort of dressed like a sort of a MAGA rodeo clown with all the red and the hat and everything. And he kind of fell back with those shocked eyes and the half grin. And even she sort of broke character when she saw his reaction, sort of smiling herself. Like, it was sort of one of the more authentic things I've seen, I think, probably that whole night. And I don't know, did you happen to see that? Maybe I'm just crazy and liking that, but I thought that was sort of funny.
I am proudly, unashamedly going to say I didn't watch 1 second of the State of the Union address. I did watch clips afterwards, so I know what happened, and I know what you're referring to. But the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing is one more example. I'm telling you, I'm going to pick up the phone and call some American Airlines and book a flight out of the country. I'm serious. I can't take it anymore. She is another example of the idiocy of what's going on in politics. And then Biden finds himself in a position of apologizing for calling an illegal alien illegal. What? Come on. Do me a favor, everybody. I can't take it. I can't take it. I know people think I'm joking. They think I'm being dramatic because we're on something like TV right now. I can't freaking take it anymore. I can't take the rodeo clown stuff. I'm apologizing because I called an illegal alien an illegal alien. I can't take that he called the dead woman in Georgia by the name of the USC football coach, Lincoln Riley. I mean, stop. Do it just for me. Make it stop.
Yeah, it's funny.
I'm begging you, Joe Biden. I'm begging you, Donald Trump. Both of you, do me one favor, just one favor. Shut the you-know-what up, please.
That's interesting because you said earlier in this conversation that Biden, along with Trump, doesn't ever apologize. He does apologize, but usually when he gets things right, he ends up apologizing for that. And he's done that a few times where he said something off the cuff that was, and even got someone like me going, "Oh, that's pretty impressive," and then he'll walk it back later. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. I'm like, oh,
good point. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. So one more last thing about the State of the Union was the Republican response. Senator Katie Britt delivered it, and she has received a lot of blowback for her delivery. Her presentation kind of went back and forth between sort of bubbly and angry. Some people thought it was weird that she spoke from a kitchen. That didn't bother me as much. But Bernie, what did you think? Was it bizarre? Was it bizarre to you as well, or is the media sort of blowing this out of proportion?
I want to be nuanced here. I think it was horrible. And I feel bad saying that because she came across as a nice person.
Right.
And the kitchen thing didn't bother me at all. I don't disagree with a lot of the things she said, but it was such bad acting. And that's what it was. She clearly rehearsed it about 1 million times. And then she'd say, you know, I think we should, and it was like, come on, if you're going to act, get some acting lessons. It was horrible. I don't think she was horrible as a human being. I don't know her, but she looked like a nice person. She appeared to be a nice person. But the more I watched, and I watched the whole thing of that, by the way. In the beginning, I said, she's pretty good, flawless delivery. But the longer it went, the more I was cringing. It was horrible, horrible. And that's
Yeah,
my generous description of it, horrible.
no, that was sort of my take. Because I was online after the State of the Union. I saw people commenting on it. I saw the video stills. I didn't actually watch it, but I was watching the reaction to it. I mean, I didn't watch it that night. I was watching the reaction to it, and I'm thinking, okay, this is just part. It could not have been that bad. And then I watched it the next morning, and I was like, oh wow, that really was really quite bad. And it's from what I understand, Katie Britt is you're right. She is a very nice person. She gets along with people on both sides of the aisle. It's funny because I think she put a little video out on her Facebook before she did that, and she was talking perfectly normal. And she did a sort of a local address after last year's State of the Union, and she was perfectly normal there. But you're right. I think she just rehearsed it so many times, and I think so many times when you're trying to appeal to that side, they got to tell you, you got to be angry to some extent, and I don't think that's who she is. And I think she was having trouble going back and forth between the optimist, uplifting part, and then getting to the dead serious, catastrophization. And it just wasn't her. And it was kind of a bummer to see. People were talking about her being a possible VP pick for Trump. I think she's less likely to be one now after that. Yeah, I totally agree with your assessment. Nice, I'm sure a nice person, but that was quite hard to watch actually.
There's a theme running through this no BS zone today, which we're about to end, I believe.
Yes.
We have Donald Trump, we have Joe Biden, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene, we have Katie Britt. We have an apology for saying an illegal alien is an illegal alien. We have a man yelling, thinking that makes him look younger. We have his opponent who can't open his mouth without saying something nasty. Here's the theme running through the whole thing. I'm leaving. I will, if I do another no BS zone, if I write another column, it'll be from Aka freaking Pulco, because I can't take this anymore. People think I'm joking. When I say bye-bye or adios, you'll know I'm serious. And I'll bet you I'm not alone. I'll bet you we have a smart audience. I'll bet you people are nodding their heads, some of them anyway, right now, saying, Bernie's right. This is too crazy. This is not what a great country like the United States deserves. And it isn't. It just isn't.
No, I agree. And I will let everybody know I am going to try and walk Bernie back from the ledge over the between now and the next time with you. But no, I get it, Bernie. I remember Tim Alberta, who's a very good political writer. He made some comment a few weeks ago. He loves what he does, but he has thought seriously about just going on to some different field because it is so frustrating for him, the political.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. Exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how much can any one person take? It's like and we're just beginning the campaign, by the way.
Yeah.
Wait until the next rally. Biden's going to be yelling. Trump's going to be calling everybody names. We got to do this for April, May, June, July, August, September, October. 7 months?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well,
please.
Hopefully we're not yelling on the no BS zone like Joe Biden and Trump back and forth just out of frustration about this. But
if you're unable to walk me back off the ledge, would you do me one small favor? Push me off the ledge. Please, I'm begging you.
All right, everybody, y'all saw it on video, so if anything happens, Bernie asked for it. No, so yeah, I get it, Bernie. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in this week. I assure you, we will be back in 2 weeks. Hopefully, maybe we'll talk about a different topic altogether, just so we can help kind of preserve our sanity a little bit. Bernie, thanks for joining me as usual. You have yourself a great day. All right.
Oh, yeah, sure. Easy for you to say. Bye-bye.
Take care.